to invite Professor Sahana Prasad from Christ University to speak about the NLP and machine learning. So she is a faculty at Christ University. She is a professor over there, and she takes statistics, applied statistics and machine learning at Christ University. She has around more than like 20 years of experience in this particular field. I would like to welcome her. So she will be speaking about statistical concepts in NLP. So
thank you. Good morning to all. Some of my knowledge in statistics with all of you. From the past 26 to 28 years, I've been working with statistics at various levels. I've been teaching statistics to various people. I've been using statistics for my research, helping people do their research. And this, what amazes me is the versatility or the suitability of statistics in practically every field. Right from analyzing a simple sentence in English, not machine learning, simple linguistic English, to probably thinking about the mind of a criminal, to machine learning, statistics has usage in all fields. I'll be talking about a few concepts here. It's like a vast ocean. I don't know how many, even probably 1 or 2 liters of what the entire ocean probably I'll be able to explain or introduce to you. As I said, this is just an introduction because the field is so vast. We will start off with, since you're all NLP programmers, I won't take much time on that. You know why we need NLP? Over there. We can't expect people to learn all the languages which computers understand. So the easier way is to make computers understand our language, and that's what machine language, putting it simply, is all about. And how does statistic help in this? Yeah, it's okay, sir. I think this would do. I think the font is clearer. It's overlapping. Now it's okay. Yeah, now it's fine. So as I said, this is a far easier way to make computers understand us rather than we trying to understand computers. So we talk about the statistics part of it. Next one. Yeah, this I can explain. Next one. Yeah, since you're all NLP programmers, you know why it is important. We have a lot of things to do with natural language processing, and these are some of the explanations or the examples which we could do with that, and more to statistics part of it. And now we have a linguist who has a certain rules. Now he says that the word to has to be accompanied or has to be followed by a verb, right? Or the pronoun has to be followed by a prefix before that, or an adjective has to be followed. If you have an adverb, it should qualify the verb. Now a linguistic has certain rules which the computers might or might not be understood, and especially nowadays with the fast language of SMSs and then the English which is used, computers may not really be able to understand, and definitely it is not going to understand when somebody is being sarcastic, when somebody is being very happy about it. So if I say that this meat is awesome, what I mean, the computer is not able to understand whether I mean it in a sarcastic manner or whether I mean it in a good manner. The computer, or sometimes I may get so flustered, I may say this meat is awful. What I meant was awesome. So when the computer has to understand what I am trying to say. Now this is where the linguistic might fail. Now you are sending a message to somebody. Generally what we do is we just put a smiley, unless it's an official message, to indicate that okay, this is what my meaning is. Now the smiley carries a lot of significance. Though it's just a character, it carries a lot of significance. It explains a lot of things about the sentence. So a smiley can also change the meaning of the sentence, from being a very strict sentence to a very formal one. And whereas what we have is, in probability, in statistical natural language processing, we have a corpus, the bag of words, from which we derive certain values, and we find the probability of it being correct. Now both are, there's nothing right or wrong in this, both are right in its own way. As I said, each has its place. If I'm talking about Shakespeare in English, I would definitely be looking at a linguistic based translator rather than a machine based or a statistical translator. As I said, People will bend rules according to their communications. Many of our youngsters, many of our students, I observe, they really don't know when to put S, when to put A, when to put dot, when to put comma, when to put colon. It's something totally out of their league. So why statistics is more important? Now you have told me something. What is the probability that I have understood well? Or let me look at it the other way. I am telling you something. What is the probability that you have understood it correctly? Right? That there's a probability concept involved. Now here there's a very important difference between statistical and deterministic. Now I call somebody and I just push him, a thin person. Now definitely, unless he's holding on to something, he will fall. I mix two chemicals in the laboratory. Definitely, if I mix a 5 ml of X and 5 ml of Y, I am going to get 10 ml of Z. Right? Unless somebody pushes the test tube or there is a sudden explosion or something, I will get that. Now that's a deterministic experiment. Now whereas in a statistical experiment, we have something which is unknown. Some unknown. Now suppose I say, okay, switch off. What can you switch off? You can switch off your brains, you can switch off your mouth, you can switch off your computer, you can switch off your cell phone. Depending on usage, you'll be able to understand what I'm trying to say. Right? So statistics comes into the picture there. What all can you switch off? In that, what is the probability of switching off your cell phone? So I mean, suppose there are 5 ways you can switch off your brain, your thinking, your whatever. Then there are 5 different ways. One of them is switching off your cell phone. So the probability becomes 1 by 5. Now the computer recognizes this. Okay, this person is trying to say what? What am I supposed to switch off? So it's the cell phone. So it immediately translates. There was a very famous advertisement a few years back. I think it was the Aadhaar card number. You dial Pizza Hut and you're ordering for a double cheese pizza. Immediately the person on the other hand says, no, you have high cholesterol, you shouldn't be ordering this pizza. Right? Now, and the person says, okay, then forget this, I'll order this, something else. He says, no, you have diabetes, you shouldn't be ordering this cake. So, now, what is this all about? Here again, the machine is calculating the probability, it is matching your profile with the one stored in database. The probability, there is a probability of wrong matching also. Somebody else could have dialed from your number. Somebody else could possess your same voice. There is no rule that only you have to have that particular kind of voice or intonation. So what is the probability that the machine picks up the right person? Right? That is one. And many of you, when you're trying to send messages through Gmail, I'm not sure about the other means, when you say I have attached this file and you forget to attach, Gmail immediately reminds you. It says, I think you have forgotten to attach this file, shall we proceed? Now, why that attach is only with files? I could say I am attached to you in the mail. But the computer picks up I am attaching a file. It reads those words and it understands that you're supposed to attach something, but you haven't done so, and it reminds you. So statistical models are robust. That means it can withstand the other vagaries of mispronunciations, wrong spellings, etc. And then it produces results which are more reliable. You have a proper validation. Okay, why am I using this technique? It is statistically valid. When somebody asks you, okay, what is the logic of using this? We can explain. Now I say, for example, the number of hours you spend in computer is directly proportional to the output, good output. Now this is common sense. More you spend on programming, more better your skills are. But statistically we can prove that. When you say something to somebody, they may not really appreciate it, or they may say, okay, this is common sense, but prove it. We can really prove it. We will see in one of the following examples. Now, once we know what is statistics, this is statistics all about. It is all about probability, it is all about data, it is about communicating with data, drawing conclusions and all that. Now the next question is, why should I study statistics? Can I not manage without statistics? I definitely can. With the advent of software, we have one more category, which are people who are consumers of statistics. Now I don't need to know physics to cook rice. But when I know that PV is equal to RT, physics principle works in the pressure cooker, I know how to vary the ratio of rice to water so that I get good quality rice cooked. Rice which can stay till the next day. Otherwise also the pressure cooker will cook whether I know physics or not. If I don't know chemistry also I can prepare dosas. But when I know chemistry, I know exactly what time, what point the batter will rise so that I get fluffy dosas. So without statistics also you can do machine learning, you can do natural language processing. But two things, statistics helps you to understand the process better. Second, knowledge is always power. You never know when you could be using that knowledge. So more of statistics, more of understanding of the process, better results you can get. So that is the reason for using statistics and for knowing statistics. As I was telling Mr. Ravindra, there are a huge number of topics in statistics which are used in natural language processing, and you'll be very much surprised that this same list can be easily transported to engineering, to law, to sociology, to psychology, to many other fields. These are some of the common tools. I have made a list. This is by no means exhaustive. Each of them has a number of inbuilt and more variations to it. We will talk about probability, the most commonly used measure. Now, as I said, in certain experiments there is a probability, in certain experiments there is no probability. So the simplest way to explain is, what is the probability of an event A? And why do I need this probability? As I said, I am giving a sentence. Now, what is the probability that the machine understands and completely transforms it? Now, here this just gives us very simple number of favorable cases divided by total number of cases. I'll show an example on this. Though the definition is as simple as this, it has vast applications. Probability, what is the probability that I am doing the right programming? What is the probability I am using the right syntax? What is the probability that the machine is able to understand what I want it to understand? And what is the probability that I am doing misspelling something or I am understanding something and so on. So we have the higher the probability, the more certain that the event is going to occur. Now, along with probability comes conditional probability. Conditional probability, as the name says, is based on a condition. What is the probability that this meet will happen? A simple probability. What is the probability that this meet will happen given that 29th is a Saturday? Is conditional. So you see the difference between the two. There is a vast difference. When I say what's the probability this meet will happen, you probably would check up the last few data and then say, okay, this is the probability that the meet is going to happen. When I say what is the probability the meet is going to happen, given that 29th is Saturday, then you'll have to do some more work. Go check what are the dates of the previous meets, in those meets which all were Saturdays, and then how many meets have actually occurred. So that gives the concept of conditional probability. These are some of the examples. When you write it or when you read it, what is the most probable understanding? I ate a cherry. So you could, the way I pronounce it, you could have many interpretations of that. Which is the most probable answer? Then handwriting recognitions, and we have the translations, and then the, in fact I think most of us would have used Google Translate, and I myself use a lot of Kannada software, wherein I find that it is very difficult to get the right, the matra what we say, that Vatakshra what we say, it defines the particular word. It's very difficult because the way you speak in English is not exactly the way it is written in regional languages. I think this is a problem with most regional languages. I was looking it up, especially with Indian languages, where we have a lot of characters. It's very difficult to get the general translation, and transliteration also sometimes will not work. Then spelling. I think most of our English teachers would tear their heads over these, the kind of spelling mistakes our students make, we ourselves make in a hurry. As I said, this follows this. It's the frequency of the word divided by the total number of words. Now there is a very important catch here. When I say divided by the total number of words, I also need to know the total number of words I have. Now this is something which is almost impossible. Now what I do is, now for example, suppose I am running a restaurant. Now I know in my restaurant, people come and ask for food, drinks, water, juice, something like that. It is something related to only these. Now people can come and ask for many things. They could come and ask for a computer, they could come and ask for medicines, they could come and ask for something else. But since I am running a restaurant, I have a few limited words in my corpus. So let me make a list. I want. So people start out with I. Right? I want, say, sandwich. So the I is the most repeated word. Next would be say want. Then we could build it up. And then we could talk about what is the probability that is followed by I. Nobody will say I. Probably I is followed by I want or I require. Something like that. So then I make a list like this, which will help me in forming my corpus for the machine to understand. So even if you are giving the command to a computer or a machine and not to a human being, it should be able to understand. I want what? Obviously, you want to ask for something in the hotel. So that's a restricted. But suppose I'm ordering online. Now I have huge choices. I can ask for food, I can ask for groceries, I can ask for mobile, anything. There the corpus becomes huge and the denominator will go up infinitely. So this, as the problem or the situation changes, the model becomes more complex. So if I'm having a small eatery with just 4 items, it's very easy. The more higher I go, the more difficult because the denominator goes on increasing. So we have these language models. That's it. So next one. As I said, when I say please turn off your cell, the next word will obviously be cell phone. Right? Now I could have some other usage which is highly unlikely. Now I arrived at this estimation by understanding, okay, what do people usually say? Please. Please also might not be there always. We start off with please. Please turn off your cell phone. What's the probability that the word is phone, given that the previous few words are please turn off? So we have the gram models. I will not go into details because you are all working with language models already. I have decided not to go right into the details. This is the unigram, bigram and the trigram model. Now this was an example what I gave of a bigram model, where each word is dependent on the previous word and then we can have an estimation. So we can make a corpus like this and then we can see what is the probability of the next one. Now this is a very important example. We have a 1000-word corpus. The word wise, remember that the wise means a lot of things. Vices, it also has a negative connotation. And the word president occurs 100 times. So we have the probability of wise as 50 by 1000, the same formula what I wrote on the board. Probability of president is 100 by 1000.1. And please go to the next sentence. If they are unrelated, I can have president without the vice, I can have vice without the president, they are not related. So I just multiply it, I get 0.005. But when I take it from the corpus, I find that it occurs 40 times, the probability is 0.04. This is a very important point here. What I expect and what is actually, there's a difference. Simple example, we were expecting 60, we aren't 60 here. The expectation was 60, reality is less. So that concept, how are we going to account it? Now I hope this example is clear. Here what we are doing is, I am finding the probability keeping in mind that vice and president are two unrelated statements. Transporting to our today's situation, I could say that what is the probability that NLP meet and Saturday are completely independent. If I say that they are independent, it means that irrespective of whether it's a Saturday or not,